Subscribe to his YouTube channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss any update.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 7th session of Facebook Live AMA series hosted by Inc42. This is Sukanya from Inc42 team. Rarely will you meet somebody with as illustrious a career as our guest today. In the last few years, he has donned several hats, from the country head of Google India to the main architect of the e-commerce business at Indiatimes. He is an exemplary tech entrepreneur who believes in a multifaceted approach to generating value and driving innovation. He's the man behind one of India's biggest online travel groups, with such properties as Redbus and Go Ibibo and Travel Boutique Online. Recently, his company also merged with Make My Trip. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome Ashish Kashyap, the founder and CEO of Ibibo Group. Welcome to the show, Ashish.
Thank you.
So we'll be doing the AMA in two parts. I'll take the first 15 minutes to ask you a few questions, and then I'll hand it over to you and you can take questions from the reader. So meanwhile, whoever is watching us can drop in their questions in the comment section, and Ashish will be taking them up shortly. So I want to start off by congratulating you for leading Ibibo Group to a new level of success now that you've crossed $2 billion in annual sales. That is quite a feat, considering the hotel booking and aggregation segment is a highly competitive and low margin segment. But I want to go back to the beginning. So not many people know this, but Ibibo actually started as a social networking site in 2007. Go Ibibo, as we know today, started in 2009, 2 years later. So what made you change directions and foray into travel aggregation, and what were some of the hurdles you faced in the pivot?
Yeah, so I think firstly, if you go back in time in 2007, what I was trying to create was an incubator. Social media properties was just one aspect, but there were numerous other experiments that we were doing. If you look at life today, obviously the concept of accelerators, the concept of, incubators is pretty well known. You go back in time in 2007, the notion and understanding of incubation systems and accelerators was absolutely unknown. So my journey from 2007 to end of 2008 was all about, looking at smart teams, investing in young startups, also using the umbrella of Ibibo, which we called at that time I Build, I Bond, which was all about creation, and connecting was all about, experimentation. Go Ibibo was born, and so was actually PayU, which at that time branded as Ibibo Pay. These were some of the properties which are now today's date very significant and successful, were born out of this incubation, was born out of multiple experiments, was born out of looking at problems in the market. And I think that culture of experimentation lived always alive with us, and which is what helped us to become a significant player, which further precipitated the recent large merger that you all know of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So coming to that, basically in October 2016, Ibibo Group merged with Make My Trip in what has since been touted as one of the biggest consolidation moves in the Indian online travel market. But the point is, the merged entity has since been grappling with a bit of losses, maybe because of increased expenditure on marketing and sales promotion. So henceforth, what will be the strategy of the company to remain afloat amongst losses and competition?
Yeah, look, I mean, I see a couple of things. The first thing is this, that for us, our biggest focus is to pick up the heavy weight of moving the offline market online. The penetration of categories like hotels and bus is still very weak. The only category which is well penetrated is air ticketing.
So that is also one of the sectors that you've gone profitable, right?
Exactly. So air ticketing is definitely profitable, right? So and accommodation is a very, very fragmented sector. Just yesterday, I was looking at a report, and then there are about 9,000 towns, cities, semi-urban areas where there are hotels in this country. And we have actually been able to aggregate. But our biggest weight that we have to pick up is to move the offline to online.
Yeah.
And to move offline to online is going to be expensive. It's not going to be easy. I think at the very outset, Ibibo was ambitious back in 2013 to say, I want to build the hotels market. And we obviously built it in the main cities and towns. But now going forward, we are really, really focusing hard to build, to deepen our penetration, to, move offline to online. See, if markets are online, then it's pretty easy. But if markets are not online, if supply is not online consciously, and then you can't ever bring demand online. Okay. So I think, our focus really is to bring offline to online. There will be cost to it, but we will continuously keep optimizing, upon our bottom line spends as we go forward, right? So that's really the whole thinking. We're very, very excited with this opportunity. I think it's untapped, but super exciting as an opportunity. And lots of work is happening besides market creation. A lot of work is happening on technology and innovation.
So before you take over, I'll just ask you a very fun question. So going through your Facebook timeline, I've seen that you've uploaded a lot of photos of different exotic places. So I'm assuming that you love traveling, right?
Yeah, obviously I'm in the travel business.
So, which is something I can relate to. What is one thing about traveling that appeals to you the most, and where are you heading off to next?
Okay, great. So I think of travel as an adventure. I also think of what I'm building as an adventure. At the end of the day, one has to enjoy this journey.
Yeah.
So, the simile between what I do every day and when I do travel are pretty, these two aspects are pretty similar, because, you need to enjoy the journey rather than worry about the destiny.
Yeah.
So I think that's one aspect about travel. I think my next destination perhaps is going to be Japan.
Okay.
Although I have been there.
You've been to France and recently.
Yes, I've been to, obviously, in June I visited multiple countries. But my next holiday in summers is going to be perhaps Japan.
Okay, nice. So, you can come forward and take over. You'll see the comments.
Yeah.
Accordingly.
So what is the sequence, if you can help me?
Any way you want.
Okay.
Whichever you want to take up.
Yeah, okay. So, there's a question which is from Yogesh, which says that how do I see offline to online, especially for aspects such as nightclubs and bars through websites and apps. So, I think my sense on this topic is that whenever we think of moving offline markets online, one has to look at what is the significance or the significance of the problem. What that really means is that what is the supply side problem that I'm solving, which was not solved? So do nightclubs and hotspots have inventory systems? Do they have yield management systems? Do they have pricing engines? Do they have booking systems? If you are able to solve those, then that particular ecosystem will very quickly move online. So I think that's how you need to see. But on the other hand, if your solutions don't add any value, then obviously there is no value in moving that offline market to online market. So I hope that answers. Rahul Singh asked me, what are the qualities and skills one should look for while hunting for a CTO for your startup? I think the quality number one is super hands-on, should not be just high level. The CTO needs to be absolutely hands-on, should be able to both code on his own and at the same time encourage lots of developers in the company to be able to create scaled systems. He needs to be not just your employee, but he needs to be your partner and your co-founder. He's the guy who needs to be embracing change and embracing new technologies, willing to constantly experiment, willing to fail fast. So those are some of the attributes. Of course, there's a big list, but Rahul, CTO is one person you want to bring in board who you need to get right. This is one guy you get wrong. If it's a technology startup, you will go wrong. Then there's another question from Gautam, which says, which one would you want me to choose, passion or purpose in business? I would actually definitely go for purpose. And the reason for that is while passion is great and it's very important. I'm super passionate about what I do, but with a purpose, you're able to prioritize and you're able to solve the right problems and you're able to execute in the right direction, because you can't do everything in one day. The game out here is, as you're building the business, you got to break it up into parts and you need to prioritize. I think purpose definitely brings that. So even if, let's say, you have a huge opportunity of building a health startup, but you don't like that category or you don't like certain nuances of that category, but you feel that you've got the solution to the problem and you have your purpose clear, your chances of success will be very high. On the other hand, you're very passionate about your a health tech startup, but you don't have a clear purpose, you don't have a clear vision, you don't have a clear roadmap, you don't have the clear solutions, the chances of success are going to be very weak. So Aarti asks me, hello Ashish, during the merger and even as recent as April 2017, you talked about an AI-based product offering. Can you shed specific light about the product and launch date? So Aarti, absolutely. In fact, a lot of stuff that we are building, we're really focusing hard on machine learning and artificial intelligence. Today's date, a very significant percentage of our customer queries post a transaction are answered by our artificial intelligence system. Our entire user-generated content on our platform today's date is 100% moderated by machine learning and AI systems. My belief is that as we execute further, everything that we do has to have machine learning, AI principles, interwoven into the same. What were your fears, if any, when you launched Ibibo? Nilima Thakur, asked this question. I think, so firstly, I want to say that I did not absolutely fear failure, and that's where most people go wrong. Some of my areas of skepticism when I was building out was that, does our ecosystem, or is our ecosystem, ready with the talent? Has our developer ecosystem evolved or not? And to be honest, when I started Ibibo back in 2007, 2008, it was still early days in terms of the developer ecosystem. And now we've come a long way. I think the technology talent, the product management talent, and design talent is now at par with at a global scale. So I think that was my biggest fear, that do we have the right talent to build global quality internet businesses? Neeraj Joshi asks the question, what to focus on at the beginning, traction or money? I think the answer is very simple. Right at the beginning, you want to definitely demonstrate to yourself that your solution has traction. I think that's really important. And that traction need not be demonstrated to 1 million people. It can be demonstrated to even 100 people. I think that is what is important. The rest will follow. Sachin Yadav asks a question, as influencer marketing is booming all over the world, what's your take on this? Have you ever tried influencer marketing or planning to try it in the near future? What's your take on this? So look, we haven't gone whole hog into trying influencer marketing. We have done some experiments, but my belief is that there are two kinds of influencer marketing activities. One is forced or orchestrated. The other is more organic. Either ways, I think it's interesting because today's date we are consuming more digital media than analog and traditional media. We are besides the media that we're consuming, there's a social graph underneath it, be it Twitter or Facebook. I think the nice thing with the concept of influencer marketing is that it leverages the power of social to be able to reach out to large audiences. And if one is to do it properly, you could actually create a reach which is much larger than even advertising on television. So yes, I think super interesting. The method of doing it has to be still sorted. It cannot be done. It cannot be done totally in an inorganic style. Okay, Anthony John asks me a question. We basically have our own travel company with multiple offices and are quite established. Now with OTA coming up, we also feel we should have an omnipresence and develop our own website and travel. However, currently we outsource the work to third-party IT companies. What I would like to know from you is that how do I go about having or creating our own IT setup? So I think, Anthony, you could basically touch base directly with me. The Inc42 team will give you my contacts. I can share my thoughts on this. I think this is a more one-on-one question than for everyone. Then Prateek Sharma asks, will we ever be able to move away from the freemium model and provide services that optimize costs without discounts? Most product companies are resorting to use discounts on inflated prices, which tend to create a sense of false profit. Can a company run on fixed cost model with optimized profit margin today and sustain? So Prateek, I think the answer to this question is depending upon the life cycle. If you are at a stage of life cycle which is to create behaviors, at that time you could invest either in marketing or you could invest in sampling via discounting. So I think the answer here really lies in stage of life cycle of the business. So then Deepal Vivek asks a question, which is, what is your take on OTAs vis-a-vis hospitality companies like Oyo and Tribo? Which is the better model? Who will survive in the long run? So I think, firstly, online travel aggregators model is a two-sided marketplace model where it enables tens and thousands of accommodation owners to list on its platform, and on the other hand, travelers to interact, and both of them on both sides, are getting feedback loops. On the other hand, the other models are like neo hotels, which is a very different business model. I think the question to ask in the second side of the model, which is to be able to run hotels or to create neo hotels, is what's your ambition of scale? If that question is answered, then it's clear which way to go. But I think the two are absolutely different contexts. Victor Das asked me a question. Good afternoon, Ashish. I'm a hotelier and have business tie-ups with Ibibo. The recently launched InStay Review affects the ranking if not replied within an hour. Please tell me if possible for small hoteliers like us to afford dedicated manpower to constantly keep in watch when as an InStay Review comes. Should we not be at least notified by a call or given more time to respond? So although this is a one-on-one question, but I will still answer Victor. So we have launched InStay Reviews to essentially give an opportunity to you as a partner, Victor, to be able to solve the problem of the customer rather than the customer checking out and giving a poor review or a bad rating. We are happy to consider increasing the time band, but we don't believe that in a day there are multiple InStay negative reviews. We've also got a InGo Ibibo mobile app, that is your hotelier-facing mobile app, which you can use to solve the InStay reviews where you get real-time notifications. I will also look at if there are any other ways of notifying hotels such as you so that the turnaround time on InStay problems can be solved. Thank you, Victor, for the feedback. Okay, so lots more questions, coming my way. Pretty interesting. Manish asks, hi Ashish, is that really important to earn loyalty for our product with the help of discounts, cashbacks for which you need to burn a lot of cash, or someone should go delivering quality service to customers at initial stage of startup? So I think, again, Manish, let me answer this question in steps. I think step one, absolutely initial stage, you want to demonstrate traction with the right economics, and this is like I'm saying very, very early days. Once the answer to that question is good, and then you say, hey, I want to now create a market So you could create a market which requires user behavior change. Unfortunately, you got to invest, and unless you get lucky and network effects take off on their own. And to invest, you could do it in many ways. You could firstly do demand stimulus via marketing, or you could do supply stimulus, or you could do or you could basically connect demand and supply in a manner which benefits them. So in all of that, when you're creating the market, you need to make your choices, and you need to basically invest behind creating that market. I think over time, obviously, this has to be weaned away. Over time, this needs to be a self-propelling system. Over time, the discounting needs to be supplier-driven. It should not be platform-driven. Otherwise, you'll never be able to create a two-sided system. In terms of quality of service, that is an oxygen. Quality of service is an oxygen which you need to chase even on day zero of your startup. I mean, if your quality of service is weak, then you can't. If your quality of service is weak, then you can't. There's no point of even doing discounting. Azhar Amin asks me, apart from travel industry, what are the biggest opportunities you see in India? I think, Azhar, there is huge opportunity in financial space, in health space, and also in education space. But we need to really look at solving these problems in a unique manner. Okay, then after that, I have a question on, should one build a tech team bottom up or top down? And how does one justify the trade-off, right? So it really depends. So if you are a technology entrepreneur yourself, I think it's a good idea to sometimes do things bottom up. I have seen a lot of successful startups which don't have a concept of chief product officer or chief technology officer many times. And they basically build these small pods, nimble pods, which experiment, learn, and then create. I think, but on the other hand, if you don't have a technology co-founder, or you yourself are not a tech entrepreneur, I think it's really critical for you to get a technology co-founder or a almost like a co-founder who's going to be the CTO for you. And in which case, then you need to build that organization in a different manner. Sri Pravan asked me, what was our rationale for the Ibibo and Redbus merger? I think it's proven already, Sri Pravan. The benefits of the same has proven. We have grown Redbus 6 times over since the time of acquisition. Bus as a market is a very nice supply fragmented market. It's again a two-sided market where bus passengers are rating and reviewing bus operators. There are network effects in a bus platform. We've besides grown the business by 6 to 7 times since our acquisition. We've also taken the business to overseas. We've been ambitious enough actually to take it overseas. We've taken it to Peru, Colombia, in LATAM, Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia in Asia Pac. So we continue to be pretty excited about what we've done with Redbus, and all the Redbus supply now is powered on Go Ibibo and Make My Trip also. And similarly, all the Ibibo hotel supply is now being liquidated on Redbus hotels also. So we're pretty excited. I think the rationale is now pretty well, the reason behind is now very well defined and proven. Nitin Dubey says, why IITs create more entrepreneurs than IIMs? Nitin, I haven't looked at this data in a granular manner, but let me be honest, this is going to change. It's not just going to be about IITs and IIMs. It's really going to be about anyone who's going to be able to solve the problem. Rajat asks me your best moment in life, and second he asks me on what parameters do we measure Ibibo Group's service levels. So Rajat, the answer is we look at something called Net Promoter Score for the hotels, Net Promoter Score for the bus owners, and Net Promoter Score for the customers and travelers. That is one of our biggest parameters to look at the quality and the service that we are delivering, besides many other metrics like cohorts, repeat usage, and so on and so forth. Neeraj asks me, what is your take on future of media platforms in India? From where do you see the revenue coming apart from ads? I think, Neeraj, the future is let me actually, in the interest of time, answer one part of the question. I think the future of media is going to be freemium. It is going to be subscription. There is going to be diminishing of advertising. I think advertising revenue is going to be restricted to the 3 or 4 very big platforms like Facebook and Google. If anyone is building an ad-based model at today's date, I think it's going to be a very hard thing to do, and hence one has to build models around subscription or models around freemium. Arti has asked a question: were there any products that Ibibo was working on but never saw the light of the day? Yes. There are many such projects that we either killed or we wouldn't have seen the light. So there's one very nice project that we had built in the early days. It was a family tree, again much ahead of the time. There were many other entertainment-based projects that we had built, but I think this is a longer discussion. Prithvi asks a question around hospitality. Majors are rivaling online hotel aggregators and travel agents by offering cheaper rates, complimentary services, and loyalty points on direct bookings through their own website, Taj, Hyatt, etc. What's your view in this? Very good question, Prithvi. Couple of views. Number one is that if I look at the Indian market, it is beyond some of these chains that you talk about. India has more than 120,000 accommodations, usually fragmented across 10 to 12,000 cities, villages, and towns in the country. These are the people who really need platform like ours to be able to distribute to end users, to solve their payment problems, to solve their pricing and yield management problems. And these are things that they can't do. So I think that's the first thing. Second thing is, we've seen, just like in airlines, for airlines to today's date, online travel platforms like ours are the major source of liquidity, despite, them building their own direct websites. I believe in the long run, the same thing is going to hold good for these large chains also, because at the end of the day, what we do best is to help consumers to book now and check out. That's our core business of building extremely intricate consumer experiences by reducing friction. And that's what we do day in, day out. And I think that the job of all of these players like Taj, etc., that you mentioned, is to run their hotels really well. And the job of airlines is to fly the airlines on time really well. So I think from a focus point of view, the experience that platforms like ours can deliver, intertwined with network effects, intertwined with aspects or intertwined with gamification like Go Contacts, I think very few, or rather operators of buses, operators of hotels, and operators of flights can't, similarly do that. Rahul Singh asked me the question, how to stay positive and motivated and reflect back to the whole team even in low days with low progress in startup. Rahul, I think being transparent with your teams is really important, number one. Number two is that, a constant iteration. I mean, you will see days where you will see things are failing. You will see days when things are picking up. That's part of the game. And, be ready to make changes and take your team along. I think you cannot isolate your team. I think that's the key. If you get them on your board, you will be able to make those iterations, and you will be able to see, that, your outcome is that finally it's a positive and motivated team. Vartika asked me how to start on your own idea when you have doubts. Vartika, the best answer for this would be that do a small, viable experiment to test your idea. It could be as cheap as a Facebook page, or as less expensive and as easy as a Facebook page, or it could be even a WhatsApp group to test your idea. So I think that's what you want to do. You don't want to keep thinking about it. You want to execute it, you want to do it, but in a very simple and low-hanging manner to test your idea. Once your hypothesis is proven, then you step on it. Azhar asks me that since we are pretty significant in the hotel industry and accommodation space, expanding restaurant hotel, and since we've already onboarded, Azhar, very good idea. I'm going to 100% consider it. And if you're from the hotel industry, again, please feel free to drop me a line with more thoughts. But absolutely, a lot of our ideas and strategies come from our partners and customers. Prashant, he asks me, what is the best marketing option that worked for Go Ibibo? Prashant, very good question. I will spill the beans. So, there were two phases of our marketing campaigns that really, really worked for us. Number one is, we launched something called Go Cash referral program, which everyone knows. The thinking there was very simple. If I was spending 100 rupees a day on acquiring new buyers from Google and Facebook, what I said to myself, can I move this money to this wallet called Go Cash? And that's what we did. And the viral effect was huge, absolutely humongous. Of course, there was lots of nitty-gritties into execution, ensuring that people don't game the system, ensuring that every user gets their own special referral code. But that really helped us back in 2013 and to suddenly take off and just race ahead. Then the other key thing for us as a business is always to say that, hey, we don't want to be just a buyer-facing or traveler-facing company. We want to build network effects onto our platform. So to build network effects, we build user-generated content systems, and our entire hotel ranking system works on the fact of how users are behaving on our system and what feedback is going back to the hotels. And that two-sided network effect was the second step for us, for the company to take off into the level 2 or level 3. And then the last thing that we launched late last year, prior to the merger, was a Go Contacts program. Here the thinking was that most companies in the past would do loyalty program at an individualistic level. We said that can we have a loyalty program determined by the behavior that is demonstrated by networks rather than individuals. So as you know, Go Contacts needed people to connect their phone graphs, and each time the contact traveled, the phone graph would get benefited and vice versa. The network effects for that was so strong that the company just took off and reached that level 7. And again, my learning from this was at a simple level that, one needs to look at prisms, or one needs to look at things from now new prisms, rather than just saying that I would look at marketing and do marketing activities in a linear way. So those were some of the things that we did, which helped us to definitely take off as a company, and activities which worked for us, and we didn't see similar playbooks anywhere else. Thank you, guys and girls.
So with this, we come to an end to a very enlightening AMA session. There have been a lot of questions that we received from our viewers, and Ashish, as usual, has been very insightful. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Ashish, for taking the time out to interact with us. We do hope that Ibibo Group scales bigger heights in the near future, and all the best for that. We have quite a few AMA sessions coming up in the near future, so stay tuned to the Inc42 Facebook page, and we'll see you soon. Bye.